Prismata. This game is set in the distant future where La Creatura has colonized the galaxy and everybody played Hearthstone so much they designed the user interface around it. Too bad this isn't a card game, it's a turn-based strategy game. Both you and your opponent can build any unit shown on the left of the screen. These ones are always there and even a hotkey is bound to them, and these one randomly change from game to keep things fresh. The game's divided in two phases. The build phase is where you build your units and click them. The attack phase is where you deal damage. If you have enough defense, you can decide where to assign the damage in order to absorb as much as possible. If you don't, then the attackers can decide what to damage, usually drones. After the second phase ends, it's the other player's turn, and so on. We'll go through all the base units in order and explain mechanics as they come. Before I start, however, note that each card displays its cost and availability. And yes, you can run out of units, but the game will be long done before you finish them all. At the bottom of the screen is a resource counter, which also tells you how much gold you're going to have next turn. The first two units are the engineer and the drone. They're both blockers, meaning that you can assign damage on them, and the drone is your main source of income. You can click it, meaning you won't be able to block with it this turn, to gain 1 gold each. The engineer gives energy, which, like replicates and Bohemium, red and blue from now on, isn't stored at the end of the turn. Your access is wasted. A conduit gives you a unit of Darkside, green, each turn. This resource is stored like gold. The Blast Forge gives 1 unit of blue, and the Animus gives 2 units of red. The force fields cost 1 drone each. There are better way to use them if you know your opponent is going to breach your defenses anyway. It is also a prompt unit, meaning that it can block right away, unlike most units which have to wait 1 turn. The Gauss Cannon is a very gold inefficient unit damage wise, but it has lots of health. Like the force field, it's a fragile unit, meaning that it can't absorb damage. The wall is a 3 life prompt blocker and it's your main line of defense for most games. The Steel Splitter is a pretty basic 1 damage 3 life unit, it's pretty versatile. The Tarsier is the most gold efficient base unit, but it takes 2 turns to build. Lastly, the Rhino is a prompt blocker with only 2 life and 1 attack. You can only click him twice, however, making it more suited for defense. You might have noticed that every single color has an offensive and defensive unit to build in the base set, to make sure that most builds are viable. But your strategy should be dictated by the extra units. The variety on these is extremely good and you seldom get to use the same strategy twice. From frontline units, one use nukes, to factories which will produce other units, there will be too much for me to cover in a single video. And remember, your opponent too has the same units in every match, which means you two are on the same playing field. In the beginning you'll build drones, then a resource building or 2 to get some units out, then, depending on the extra unit, you might go for a war of attrition, or banking on a push with an expensive unit, or go breach proof, etc. Once you manage to get enough damage to the enemy's economy, the game's usually over. So, why is this game dead? To the game's credit, it has pretty good bots to fill in, but you can disable them to search for players exclusively and it will take a long time to find anyone, let alone somebody at your skill level. Part of the problem is that this game looks like a card game. Whenever I shown this game to a friend of mine, they immediately thought this was a Hearthstone ripoff. Maybe it's the player fault for judging the game by its cover, but first impression matters a lot. They even call it a card game on their website. This, however, can't explain the game poor players' retention. But I've got a theory. Maybe the game is too simple for its own good. Turn-based game usually have something else going for them, be it team composition, unit creation and map control, character progression or asymmetric balance. Prismata has none of this, which isn't bad by itself, but the game does get a bit repetitive after a while, even with the random unit swapping each match. The good news is that Prismata does do the side content very well. There's challenges and tutorials that teach and test you on various complex or counterintuitive concepts, there's random loot, unlockable cosmetics and replays. And there's no pay to win or luck based element whatsoever. You can also spectate live games from the menu with a single click, all 2 of them. Maybe advertisement too should receive a bit of love. Some people on the Steam reviews complained about this game being too much math, but I do not agree, most of the job is done for you. In conclusion, this game is okay. It suffers from a very small player base, but it's not completely barren depending on your time zone. And the bots are very well made. It's also extremely simple for a video game, so much so that it could be replicated in real life as a board game without losing any gameplay in translation. Check this game out if it looks interesting to you. It's free and very easy to run on any machine. Okay, thanks for watching.
Mama, I'm nervous to go to human casual match. Don't worry, fine tooth drone, just try to act like a human.